Listen carefully. If you flash your intellect too soon, you surrender leverage before the contest even begins. Power does not live in being right or wrong. It lives in staying unseen until movement is irreversible. In a world obsessed with looking clever, the one who plays the fool often grips the sharpest blade. To ordinary ears, this sounds like sabotage. You spend years sharpening your mind, reading, testing, paying attention, and then what? You act as if you know nothing. Yet a Machiavellian mind reads the board differently. Intelligence has value only when it is timed. Show it too early, and you expose your hand like a gambler who reveals his cards before the wager hits the table. You do not earn respect. You paint a target on your chest. Competitors begin to circle. They feel threatened. They whisper. They organize. They line up their counter-moves. The room hums with quiet resistance because you unveiled your greatest weapon too soon, your mind. So what does a strategist do? He buries it. He lets others believe he is gentle, unsure, inexperienced, harmless. He leaves a faint trail of harmless errors that cost nothing. Then, when the window opens, he rearranges the entire room with a single sentence. That is not stupidity. That is stagecraft. Most people are addicted to recognition. They cannot stand the sting of being underestimated. The moment someone treats them as slow, they rush to demonstrate ability. I knew that already. Let me correct you. Here is the real answer. A Machiavellian would smile at this impulse. You just became predictable. You emptied your arsenal in public. Now your rivals know your range, your values, your rhythm. They have a map to your buttons and they will push them. Worse, the person you tried to impress does not admire you. They file you under the category of eager intellect and move on. You did not dominate the room. You decorated it. Restraint is not weakness. It is a method for shaping perception. The quiet student in the corner often runs the conversation without speaking, because others reveal who they are while trying to appear brilliant. The wise player asks simple questions, invites others to talk, and measures the room. He notes who needs praise, who fears embarrassment, who chases status. He banks this information like currency. When he finally speaks, he spends it. Think of the courtroom where the best attorney saves a single devastating question for the witness who has grown comfortable. Consider the sales meeting where the quiet operator allows a rival to overpromise, then asks for one clear guarantee that the rival cannot deliver. In politics, in business, in relationships, timing turns intellect into force. The goal is not to shine. The goal is to steer. The Machiavellian mind flips this rule on its head. He allows the world to judge freely. Let them think he is naive. Let them think he is ordinary. Let them think he is distracted. While they are busy labeling him, he is dissecting them, measuring their steps, charting the cracks in their defenses. There is a silence only true strategists know. It is not the silence of ignorance, but the silence of restraint. Sun Tzu once said, "Appear weak when you are strong." Machiavelli sharpened this into something harsher. He does not just appear weak. He allows others to believe they own him, that they command the stage. And the moment they swell with pride, he tears them apart from the inside. This tactic works because of human vanity. When people believe they are the smartest in the room, they loosen their grip. They preen, they boast, they spill secrets. Their guard dissolves piece by piece. And who is taking notes on every slip? The fool in the corner, the harmless figure no one fears. That is why this strategy carries such weight. It invites honesty from enemies. It melts away suspicion. It lowers the shield of the opponent. When the final move lands, it feels like sorcery, even though it was mapped long before. You become the last person they ever suspected, which makes you the most effective. You have seen this in negotiations, in relationships, in politics. The quiet one who stays still, who asks clumsy questions, who lets the other side ramble, then with one line ends the debate. That is not fortune. That is training in performance. It is the art of withholding until revelation becomes a weapon. Knowledge is stored like a loaded chamber and released only when it guarantees victory with a single strike. The same truth shows itself in the silent executive who says little in meetings yet closes the deal with one unexpected reversal. In the reserved friend who knows every secret because he never interrupts. In the investor who pretends to hesitate until the price drops, then seizes everything. These are not fools. They are actors wearing masks tighter than anyone else because they grasp what most overlook. People underestimate what they do not fear. And if you wish to inspire fear, you must first learn how to be feared by no one. There is a reason fools are dismissed, and the Machiavellian treats that dismissal like a manual. Let them underestimate you. Let them talk too much. Let them bask in their sense of superiority. Let them loosen their guard. Let them invite you closer, believing they hold the reins. And when the silence grows heavy, that is when you strike. Not with noise, not with emotion, but with precision. A single remark, a refusal that shifts the current, a question that exposes their softest point. In an instant, the entire room understands you were never behind. You were baiting them. That is the difference between intellect and strategic intellect. This is not pretending to be stupid. It is pretending you have less leverage than you truly hold. Waiting until your opponent hands you the perfect opening. Then you reveal that you were never in the dark. You were simply watching, letting them believe you were. If this world were fair, intelligence alone would be the ultimate weapon. But this world does not reward raw intellect. It rewards control. And control does not come from displaying how smart you are. It comes from concealing it until the room is blind and resistance is impossible. This is where most people lose before the contest even starts. They are too loud, too eager to prove themselves, too emotionally attached to the illusion of being seen as intelligent. But Machiavelli would remind you that the man who reveals his cards too soon is teaching his enemies how to destroy him. The real game is not about being noticed. It is about remaining unseen until you hold the lever that tips the balance. There is a form of intelligence Machiavelli cultivates that has nothing to do with test scores or academic brilliance. It is the intelligence that reads a room as if it were a battlefield. He knows that people do not fear what they understand. They fear what they cannot decipher. And what makes a person indecipherable? They do not react. They do not rush to speak. They do not flinch when insulted. They do not correct others when wrong. They do not waste time winning debates. They wait, and they let others bury themselves with their own words. This is calculated foolishness. It is letting others believe they are steering the conversation. It is allowing them to feel like the sharpest mind in the room, while you are already 10 steps ahead, quietly gathering the missing pieces. The point is not to hide forever. The point is to wait until silence becomes unbearable, then break it with precision. We live in a world addicted to being right, a culture that equates constant talking with victory, where silence is mistaken for weakness. That is exactly why strategic foolishness works so powerfully. In a storm of fragile egos and endless noise, the one who speaks least transforms into a dark and mysterious force. He may be mocked, underestimated, even dismissed. Yet behind that mask, he controls perception itself. Here lies the secret. People project their illusions and fears onto what they cannot read. The moment you become unreadable, you become a mirror. They begin to reveal who they are, not who you are. This is how the Machiavellian collects intelligence. He allows others to expose themselves through their assumptions about him. Picture yourself entering a room full of men competing to prove who is the boldest, the smartest, the most dominant. You remain silent. You only answer when spoken to directly. You withhold opinions. You listen. Watch what happens. One will overshare, desperate to earn your respect. Another will lower his guard, convinced you are timid. A third will attempt to manipulate you, imagining you are easy prey. All of them give away their strategies without realizing it. Meanwhile, you are recording everything. Later, when you move, you dismantle each of them with a strike crafted from the very words they handed you freely. That is not luck. That is deception refined to its highest form. Let the fool run into the trap. Let the clever man convince him it was a celebration. This tactic finds its sharpest edge in negotiation. Show too much brilliance and people shield themselves. They prepare defenses, they withhold critical information, they double-lock the vault. But pose a foolish question, and they cannot resist explaining. They talk past the point of safety. They expose weaknesses inside their own camp. They reveal their urgency. The less you appear to understand, the more they scramble to enlighten you, and the more power slides into your hands. Then, when they are certain you are harmless, you place an offer built entirely on the secrets they were careless enough to reveal. This tactic also thrives inside social systems. Think about a group where every man is clawing to be alpha. Exhausting, isn't it? And the true alpha is almost never the one making the most noise. By pretending not to care, by moving slowly, even appearing slightly clumsy, you step outside the hierarchy just long enough to see it clearly. You begin to see who is trying to dominate, who is starving for attention, who gossips, who flatters. Once the map is clear, you know exactly where to apply pressure to turn the entire structure upside down, not by playing the game, but by ending it with a subtle adjustment no one saw coming. In love and seduction, this is where most people make their worst mistakes. They rush to impress. They talk as if auditioning. They try too hard to prove their value. But the most magnetic man is the one who cannot be pinned down. Not stupid, simply indifferent. Not clumsy, simply unreadable. He does not chase. He stirs curiosity. He does not compete. He becomes the puzzle that others cannot solve. People fall hardest for what they cannot fully grasp, not for the man who throws his entire deck of cards on the table in the first 5 minutes. Yet feigned foolishness does not mean passivity. It is not weakness. It is a mask worn by someone who is tracking every move. Silence can be mistaken for cowardice only if it is genuine neglect. But the Machiavellian is never asleep. Every word spoken around him becomes a tool. Every assumption about him feeds his next move. He may look slow to react, but while you are still explaining yourself, he has already chosen the strike that will end you. Remember this. The intelligent man who feels compelled to show his brilliance will lose. The intelligent man who knows how to wear the mask of a fool will win. And the longer you wear that mask, the deeper your blade cuts when it finally appears. There is a cruel irony in intelligence. The moment you prove it, you begin to lose control. Why? Because revealed intellect becomes a target. It becomes the thing others want to challenge, discredit, or destroy. It invites rivalry, insecurity, and resistance. But when intelligence is hidden, it transforms into a shadow. Something others can sense but cannot trace. They do not know where the threat lies. They do not know when it will strike. That is not weakness. That is dominance wrapped in disguise. Picture two men walking into a room. The first arrives polished, proud, eyes sharp, his intellect obvious. Instantly the room reacts. A few admire him, but most brace themselves, preparing to defend. The second man enters plain, calm, maybe even a little awkward. He does not correct anyone. He does not boast. He gives no signals of authority. What happens? He is overlooked. People relax around him. They speak freely. They reveal insecurities, secrets, ambitions. They lower their guard. Yet in truth, the second man is sharper than the first. He simply wears a mask of harmlessness to slip into real leverage. Machiavelli would call this entering through the servant's door and leaving as a king. Because the reality is simple. You cannot control a room until you have first vanished inside it. This tactic is not mere silence. It is the deliberate design of presence through restraint. Do not declare your beliefs like commandments. Instead, Ask questions that force others to reveal theirs. Let them speak. Let them think they are teaching you. Then, with a subtle redirection or a single remark, turn their own words against them. That is power. You do not argue. You let them build their own pit and step into it. You can weaponize selective confusion. Pretending not to understand something at the right moment is one of the sharpest tactics at your disposal. You force them to over-explain. You expose whether they truly understand their own claims. You play the fool so they feel in control. And most importantly, you let them teach you what they know, believing they are superior. Behind the mask, you are collecting psychological fingerprints, their rhythms, their arrogance, their blind spots. They think they have earned your respect, when in reality, they have armed you with the tools that will break them later. Let others lead while you direct. The intelligent often feel the need to command every moment. But the master strategist knows that the best way to lead is to appear as if you are following. Let them speak first. Let them set the direction. Let them believe they are steering the situation. Then, with a light push here, a subtle suggestion there, a hesitation that makes them question their plan, you guide the outcome without anyone noticing. That is not mere manipulation. That is invisible rule. This is pure Machiavelli. Let them insult you. Let them mock you. Let them underestimate you. Do not defend. Do not explain. Do not react. Why? Because every insult, every joke, every arrogant remark is a confession. It tells you what they fear, what they value, where their pride rests, and where their armor is thin. And while they laugh, you sharpen the blade, patient, until the moment arrives when you reveal you were never a fool. You were the one who heard everything. There is an old saying, "The man who seems harmless passes the guards." Social systems are built to detect threats. The ambitious, the loud, the obviously intelligent are marked at once. They are monitored, they are resisted, they are isolated. But the fool enters unnoticed. No one prepares for him. No one bothers to block him. And that is why he wins. He slips past resistance. He is granted trust by default. He becomes the confidant, the safe presence, until he is the only one who knows everything and everyone else is exposed. By the time they recognize the threat, it is too late. The system they tried to protect has already shifted silently in his favor. This tactic grows even more powerful when seen through the lens of emotional response. When you are too polished, too perfect, too obviously impressive, people keep their distance. You are not approachable. You are not safe. You are too visible. But when you reveal soft edges, when you appear uncertain, relaxed, even a little distracted, people lean closer. They drop their own armor. They show their real selves. They believe you are someone they can manage, fix, or outmaneuver. That is when you flip the script, not with aggression, but with precision. You become the person they chose to confide in, never realizing they walked straight into the stage you built for them from the beginning. Machiavelli warned that men must either be flattered or destroyed, which means this tactic has limits. Play the fool for too long and two dangers emerge. Others begin to truly believe you are a fool. Worse, you may start to believe it yourself. This is the greatest risk, forgetting that the mask is a tool and not your nature. You must always keep the blade sharpened in the shadows. You keep refining your thoughts, honing your observation, practicing your delivery, so that when the moment comes to lift the illusion, you do not stumble out in confusion. You emerge as a weapon no one saw coming. The most powerful man in the room is rarely the one speaking the loudest, shining the brightest, or correcting the most. It is the one who watches, who measures, who plays the fool only because he has already written the ending. There is a kind of genius that does not need to be seen. It does not crave applause. It does not chase recognition, because it understands what most never learn. The more predictable you are, the easier you are to destroy. The more dazzling you appear, the quicker others aim for your crown. The Machiavellian tactic is not merely to be underestimated. It is to design the perception of weakness in order to build an empire right under their noses. You do not demand attention. You attract it by vanishing in the right places. You do not compete for credit. You let others hang themselves with their hunger for recognition. This is not humility. This is strategic invisibility. Feigning foolishness delivers long-term rewards, not in minutes, not in days, but in the slow unraveling of everyone who believed they had you figured out. Because the greatest advantage of a strategist is to let others walk willingly into their own traps, convinced all along that it was their idea from the beginning. Once you have convinced people that you are naive, they stop hiding who they are. They speak more than they should. They act recklessly in your presence. They dismiss your movements. They underestimate your ambitions. They lower their weapons while you sharpen yours. That is the moment to strike. Not loudly, not emotionally, not in the open, but with a move they never prepared for. Because in their minds, you were harmless. And when they look back, they cannot even trace what happened, because you made it appear as if nothing had. This strategy is not theory. History itself is the graveyard of those who underestimated the wrong fool. Julius Caesar played the role of a man of the people, a populist hero. His rivals laughed at the performance. Then he crossed the Rubicon, and Rome belonged to him. Vladimir Lenin was dismissed by the Tsarist regime as useless. Quietly, he studied, built alliances, gathered momentum, and toppled the monarchy in a revolution. Liu Bang, the founder of the Han dynasty, wore the mask of a drunk and a village clown. His enemies thought he could never lead. He became emperor. What do they share? They pretended to stand outside the game until they owned the entire board. This is the brilliance of Machiavelli. Power not seized through brute force but through misdirection. Pretending to be a fool does something even more dangerous than hiding strength. It makes you immune to most manipulation. While others are locked in endless competition with each other, you are not competing. You are collecting information. You are watching how people treat the one they believe to be beneath them. And that reveals more about their character than any direct question could. It shows who exploits others, who flatters when they want something, who turns cruel when unchallenged, and who hides cowardice behind a loud mouth. All of it becomes clear when they no longer see you as a threat. And once you know who they truly are, you own the script of how they will act in every situation. To apply this, you must delay your opinions. Let others speak first. Let them feel superior. Do not correct them. Only observe. More often than not, people reveal the most when they believe you are too dim to notice. React less. Train your face to betray nothing. When insulted, do not blink. When praised, do not smile. When challenged, do not flinch. Let them fill the silence. Let them tell you who they think you are. Keep your true thoughts buried beneath stillness. Ask questions that sound simple. Instead of making clever declarations, pose questions that seem obvious. Watch as people over-explain or accidentally reveal what they never intended to say. Simple questions often unlock the most complex admissions. Let them believe you are slower than you are. Do not rush to answer. Pause longer than necessary. Make them think you are uncertain. That is when they grow overconfident or reveal their hand while trying to lead you. You are not lost. You are luring them forward. Most people fear being misunderstood. A true strategist welcomes it, because the more wrong they are about you, the greater your advantage becomes. The man seen as dangerous will always face resistance. The man seen as a fool will always gain access. Access to information, access to emotion, access to blind spots, access to trust that can never be earned but can always be exploited. The goal is not to be admired, loved, or even feared. The goal is to be forgotten until it is too late. If you are truly intelligent, ask yourself this: Are you wasting your brilliance trying to prove it to people who do not matter, or are you hiding it long enough to use it where it truly changes the game? Machiavelli's counsel is unmistakable. The fool is mocked, the genius is attacked, but the one who hides both becomes king. So, remain silent. Let them talk. Let them laugh. Let them lower their guard. And then, end the game in a single moment of silence.